Our current events update. Israel Watch 7/12/26. The ceasefire is off, even as talks may resume. And CENTCOM said that they completed a third round of Iran strikes, and there's been over 300 targets hit this week as a result of Iran violating the ceasefire and shooting at ships in the Strait of Hormuz. And so that's just the United States. I'm not sure what the Israeli Defense Forces are doing, or if they're waiting for the go-ahead, or what's going on there. And for the record, if Iran tries to assassinate the president, he says 1,000 missiles are locked and loaded on targets if they even attempt to assassinate him. He said the U.S. military is prepared to completely decimate and destroy the country. I just want to say this again. This is the only thing these people understand. They are an Islamic death cult. They believe that it is their job to stir up the world into chaos so that the 12th Imam, that they believe is their Messiah figure, will step forward and take over the world. They believe that's their place. And when you listen to these talking heads, these news pundits talk about what's going on in Iran, if they don't talk about that, then they either don't know what is going on, or they're just refusing to deal with it honestly. But that's all there is to talk about. Every time you talk about Iran, you have to start from that factual premise that this is a cult, it's a death cult, and it is set on the final world war. And they believe that's what their role is. That's why I've explained why they have been shooting missiles at all these other Arab and Muslim nations around them. It's just to stir up the nest. They just want world war. Here's a visual of the missile attacks Israelis have lived under since the October 7th attack in 2023. And I'll tell you this, if you watch this and you put yourself anywhere on that map and you say that having these missiles lobbed at you, you would not want the kind of response that Israel has given in response, I think you're either a liar or stupid. Anybody having this kind of attack on their homes would not just sit back. Each one of those little dots is a missile. This is a time lapse, obviously. That's going back into November of 2023, December 2023. And it looks like raindrops. There are so many missiles that fell on certain areas, and you can tell some of them are coming out of Gaza. Some come from the Houthis in Yemen. Some come from Hezbollah to the north of Israel in Lebanon. And then these are coming from Iran, straight from out of the sky, ballistic missiles. And just watch now, there's pockets of time where things slow down, and then all of a sudden it blows up again. This is 2 years ago in August. But look how red hot it is up in the northern section. Now look at this. Just in 1 month, all those missiles. Everybody lived within a few yards of where a missile landed in Israel. And that's just in 1 month in 2024. And it carries into the next year, January 2025. You just watch, look at it. There's a lull in activity. And everything's going good. And boom, all of a sudden, there you go. May. Can you imagine living there? Look at that. Whew. And I'm telling you, if one ballistic missile came over and landed anywhere in Ohio, everybody would be crying out for destruction of whoever did it. Multiply that by I don't know how many thousands. And here we are, beginning of this year. Nice lull. Quiet, quiet. Now watch. March. Boom. Look at that. Raining missiles all over Israel. And then you get a lull because Israel responds and blows them up. That's why there's a lull. Every time you see those lull, L-U-L-L is the word I'm pronouncing. Every time you see that, it's because they annihilate the source. And then a few months later, a whole new crop. It's amazing. And we lost one of Israel's most outspoken supporters in the U.S. Senate. I wasn't a big fan of this guy for several reasons, but he stood firm with Israel. And they said he died after a brief and sudden illness, and it sounds like he had a heart attack. I don't know why they're calling that a brief and sudden illness, but it's just weird today how no one wants to say how they died. You notice that? You have to do search and go look up, put the person's name in, cause of death, and sometimes it takes months before you find out the cause of death. But anyway, there it is. Benjamin Netanyahu made a statement. His wife, Sarah, and I agree with the American people over the loss of our dear friend, Senator Lindsey Graham. In our recent meeting, I said, Lindsey is a great friend of Israel and a cherished friend of mine. We have no better friend than Lindsey. Lindsey understood that the security of Israel and America are inseparable. He devoted his life to defending America, strengthening our alliance, and standing up for the free world. Israel has lost one of its greatest friends. America has lost a great patriot. I have lost a beloved friend. And he gives his condolences. And that is on the heels of finally the end of the days-long funeral for the Ayatollah. And they kept him in a refrigerator car. I'm going to truck that thing all over the country. People are throwing hankies so it'll touch the coffin and so they can have it. And it's just I think it went on for 5 days. Wait, who did that? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just thought that was hilarious. Standing with Israel, amen? In related news, Scott Jennings, I never see Scott because he's on the Communist News Network, but he has his own podcast, so I've been seeing more of him. And he sums up the Kirk trial, the preliminary hearing.
It's been rather dismaying, to say the least, to see so many bad actors in the world out there who, for their own personal self-aggrandizement, for their own personal enrichment, for their own personal need to grind axes, have created such chaos and conspiracy around this case. A lot of people out there using this case to make themselves more prominent, to impugn the character of others, to go after Erica Kirk, which has been one of the most despicable things about all this. Erica lost her husband. Their children lost their father. And you have people out there attacking Erica and impugning her character and claiming she had something to do with it, and on and on and on. Just absolute garbage. So what I want to do here with this case this week, and as the trial unfolds, is bring you the facts. And the facts today, as we know it, is that there's damning evidence in the courtroom that Tyler Robinson murdered Charlie Kirk, and we've, I think, passed the threshold of probable cause, which is what they're looking for as they seek to go on to a full murder trial.
This preliminary hearing, we've had it on kind of in the background, and I've watched it on and off. It's just amazing, and now he's going to wait till September 1st. A preliminary hearing is just to say whether or not there should be a trial. And if there's not, I mean, I just think it's crazy how much debate there has been over this obvious evidence. And his trans lover, his mother, his father, all these people all said he did it. He said he did it. They've got, messages from him. And despite the conspiracy nuts like Candace Owens and them, the defense has not even begun to claim even that they were not real texts or real messages like you're hearing out there. It's just these people live in a world where they're not accountable, so they can say anything to suck you in, and as long as you will watch and listen to them, they get rich off of you. And you have to have discernment, and that's what Scott Jennings is basically saying. And here's another example of the kind of brainwashing that has resulted in really people getting hurt, and that is this whole immigration thing and pretending that these are poor people who need help and all these. there's in Europe, hardly any of the so-called immigrants are women and children. They're all fighting-age men. And the women and children that were brought in by Joe Biden is so that they could sex traffic them. That's the reality. Now, this is when real life becomes the meme. The meme out there, there's a bunch like it. Here is your delivery of refugees you requested. And they got Queers for Palestine flags. And they're like, whoa, wait a minute. We said we should take care of them. We didn't mean we personally. Well, some do. This lady, Jamey Carney, moved from New York to Ireland to be with her Palestinian immigrant lover. She met him while she was damning ICE and damning Donald Trump and his administration. And Western Journal put it this way: suicidally empathetic young woman beaten, suffocated in Ireland as Palestinian boyfriend believed to have fled the country hours after the murder. And there's story after story like this where people who are these, I just call them what they are, they're woke-tards. They've lost their minds. And yes, we should be loving and considerate to migrants. But if they're here illegally, they should also be subject to the laws of this country. And a good Christian doesn't suspend belief in Romans 13, 1-5. And so if you brought an illegal in here, we would feed them. We would preach the gospel to them, give them a Bible if we had one in their language or in English, if they can read English. We would do everything we could, but we'd also encourage them to do the right thing and to go back to where they came from and come in legally. And now, some have criticized me. I'm not calling ICE. I'm not going to call the ICE and report people. But I'm not going to protect them. I'm not going to, give them sanctuary and say you can stay here and we'll protect you and we'll lie for you and all that kind of thing. I won't do that. And the idea that I've talked about it in our devotionals, that Jesus tells us to love the stranger. He doesn't say we should help them disobey the law. And you go to the extreme she did. She's dead now. So she left behind a little girl. He's a Palestinian migrant. And we don't celebrate her death, but that is happening more often than is being reported. If you go out and do your own search, you'll find how often that sort of thing is happening. And again, the COVID vaccine that we continue, I still want to know, I'm pretty sure Lindsey Graham got vaccinated. Now, how do you prove one way or another whether that caused him at the age of 71 to drop dead of a heart attack? You can't really. But it's in the numbers. The extreme increase in people dropping dead of blood-related and heart-related diseases. And
you couldn't get a stronger study than this. Every single resident in South Korea was in this study, every single one. And so what did they do in this study? Well, they, again, compared who got the vaccine, they compared it to who didn't, and they stratified by dose number. But the shocking thing about this study is, before we dig into it, is this is the strongest signal that we have to date that vaccine-acquired immunodeficiency syndrome is real, or what's called VAIDS. So what happened in this study was, as each dose was incurred among these South Koreans, so they get 1 dose, 2 dose, 3 dose, 4+ doses, each time they got another dose, their immune function dropped off. And they suffered, when you reached the 4th dose, you started to suffer about 550% increased risks of other infections, common cold, tuberculosis, and upper respiratory tract infections. It was an absolute travesty. And you know who was affected the most was young children, ages 0 to 19. They had the highest risks of these other infections. So what's happening is these injections are causing immune collapse. They're exhausting the T cells. They're causing immune dysregulation, what's called IgG4 class switching. the immune system literally becomes dysfunctional. And as our other studies indicated, genes related to immune function literally become shut down. And so this is very disturbing. And again, you can't get a stronger sample size than an entire country.
Isn't that amazing? Wow. You heard of AIDS? Well, they're calling this VAIDS. Just put the word vaccine in front of AIDS, and that's what they're talking about. And it's just, again, what's that called? They have the reporting system. VAIRS. And if you go look, those are reports by doctors and nurses and people like that. And the amount of the connection between the vaccine and people getting blood diseases and myocarditis and pericarditis, heart attacks, all those sorts of things. It's just an amazing thing. And I'll just tell you, honestly, I believe it's all by design. I think they're, these people believe in Darwinianism. They believe that there's too many people on the planet. And I think a lot of those guys you saw getting the shot on TV to put on a show, I don't think they got the shot. I think it was all a big show. I think a lot of them got vitamin B shot or something like that and pretended it was a vaccine. I can't prove that, but that's just what you want to know what I think. That's what I think. And this is another one. I've just got to get credit where it's due. I told you RFK Jr., when they talked about putting him as head of the health services, I really had my doubts, but he's bringing down the hammer on Planned Parenthood. This is from Eric Dougherty. He said that Kennedy, RFK Jr., just canceled mass amounts of federal funding grants to Planned Parenthood and other organizations because they pushed sexually explicit content on children. And not only do they kill babies and sell the body parts and throw you in prison if you, as a journalist, investigate it like they did that guy out in California, but they also are a sodomite organization grooming children and then trying to influence them into the transgender thing and to get them to go along with the transitioning phase. It's all documented where they've done that. And they show kids sexually explicit content is the way they put it, for various reasons. A lot of times they'll call it sex education, and it'll basically be pornography. And they'll also then use that in order to influence kids into thinking they're gay and that sort of thing. It's just a wicked, wicked organization. Amen. I've said they should change the name to Planned Murderhood instead of Planned Parenthood. And one last thing in our final mentions, stay away from the wildlife when you're in their house. I'm all for going out, into the woods, or, I love the ocean, but this old fella here, signs all over the place to stay away from the bison. And he got tossed there pretty good. They said he wasn't killed, but they didn't say what his condition was. And then they got that, there's your still shot. I don't think I'd survive that. Yeah, what condition is he in? And then you have shark sightings. Trigger beach alarm after swimmer is bitten. Get bit by a shark. That happened on East Coast Beach down the Carolinas, I believe is where it's at. That was over 4th of July. And I didn't have there's a story though, they said there was 20-some sharks. It's like a school of sharks along the coast there. And people are ignoring the warnings and going out. And there's a video, I should have found it, but this lady was saying, of course you get bit by a shark. You're in their house. Don't go in the shark house and you won't get bit, And I couldn't find it. Yeah. I go out in the ocean now up to my knees or a little higher and just kind of enjoy the waves and everything. That's as far as I go. When I was a kid, at Myrtle Beach, I'd go out, be over my neck. I'd be over where I couldn't touch the bottom, swimming and everything. And I'm glad I survived. There was one tale I told you about being swept out in a riptide. And that was the scariest thing I ever went through in my life. And my parents didn't even know it happened. The lifeguard walked me back to where my parents were, and I was like, well, what happened? And a lot of kids don't even know about riptides, and so they get in the ocean and get swept out. Educate everybody before they go in the water and in the woods, amen? Be informed, pray and act accordingly.